right, time now for Jeff's car culture. Size matters, ...
Yeah.
when it comes to parking spaces.
Parking spaces. Well, parking space dimensions are relatively standard across the country, but they can vary slightly depending on the local laws and regulations. Standard parking space dimensions across America are between 7.5 feet and 9 feet and of the width, and 16 feet to 20 feet in length, or what they call depth. So parking space dimensions, seemingly relative straightforward at a glance. There are several things they consider that affect the final layout of a parking lot. Parking lot size affects the maximum number of spaces that you can put under the different layouts. Many parking lots use perpendicular parking to try to fit as many spaces in the lot as possible. It's like putting a butt in a seat at a theater or something. You got to get them in there. Perpendicular designs are especially common in high traffic areas like grocery stores and department stores. However, there's also times when a parking lot is too large for the number of people using it. Having the highest possible number of spaces only matters in a parking lot if it sees enough traffic to fill those spaces. So you can actually overbuild a parking lot. This parking is somewhat dangerous and requires wider aisles, so it's often possible to use different configurations in a large lot. While most people are familiar with perpendicular or 90-degree parking, many are the other angles and choices that can be designed and are in use. 30-degree parking spaces work well on one-way roads. Two-sided parking array at this angle is 44 feet 8 inches across in total. 12 feet of this is for the main driving route, which is the rest of the parking spot. The setup offers excellent maneuverability because drivers only need to turn a little to get in or out of that space. It's particularly practical in areas where people go in and out of the spaces a lot, so you got a lot of traffic in that one particular space.
Like on a city street.
Yeah. One notable advantage of the 30-degree space is that all doors are cleared on both sides of the vehicle, and that's important. 45-degree spaces, there's another one. It can fit more cars into the same area. These angles are still tight enough that they're only practical for cars traveling in one direction. You see the arrows in the lots and the parking spaces.
That nobody pays attention to.
Right. Well, I do. However, increased capacity comes at the cost of reduced speed because the cars need to slow down and much more skill to enter those spaces. Essentially, it is a balanced option for the angled parking, which is good to know. 60-degree parking is another one. It's relatively wide, uses a 59-foot 8-inch space for the areas with parking on both sides, typically about 20 feet of the driving space between the parking stalls. Then you've got spaces that gives people much more room to maneuver. It doesn't take up quite as much space as perpendicular parking, but it's somewhat easier to back into that spot. Then you got 90-degree parking, or perpendicular parking, as we discussed, is most common. It's the choice that people like. It's where parking stalls are at the right angle to the road. Perpendicular parking is the worst choice for accessibility outside of an ADA compliant spots, which is the handicap spots. All vehicle doors could be close to one another. Such proximity can make it extremely hard for some people to enter or exit the car. That's why you have some of the grids on the side of the parking spot. Then you got straight parking or parallel parking are common areas and where it could be difficult to install a normal
driving
parking
test.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. They're most common along the edges of the streets, which are very common. Parallel parking spots are usually 19 feet in depth with an average of 4 feet of buffer space on the top of that, which is about 12 feet of driving space next to them. Then you can get into the other specialty parking like semi-trucks, motorcycles, and buses. They each have their own routes of doing that. Semi-trucks are about 30 feet long. Motorcycles, you can put more motorcycles in a regular parking spot than you could in a parking spot designated for a motorcycle. And then you got buses, which are about 60 feet long. So I do this because when I go to we go grocery shopping, or you go to your Walmart or your Target or whatever, and you got people that are pushing their baskets and they just leave them in the middle of the next lane. They don't take them to the place where you're supposed to put your cart. I've seen people put shopping carts in the handicap space as someone's trying to pull in there, and it just drives me nuts. So you want to go out there and just poke them in the eye.
Size matters.
Yeah, size does matter.